Hi friends, welcome back to my session. And before of this session, what we had discussed about the auto scaling, how the auto scaling will works, everything we had discussed on the last session. And in the current session, we are going to discuss about one of the most important topic in the AWS, that is VPC. So what is VPC? What is the advantage of VPC? Where we are going to use the VPC? Everything we are going to discuss in the current session. Okay. First of all, please have a look on that. What is VPC? The VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So what is Virtual Private Cloud? Suppose AWS network is a huge network. I don't want to use the huge, I don't want to use the entire the network which has been provided with AWS. I am going to create my own network in that AWS network. So by creating my network, I am going to create the resources inside of this network. Then I can protect my customized network from the threats as usual by providing the customized policies which I have. So that will be done with the help of the VPC only. VPC provides the boundary of my resources. So whenever I had applied the any policies, I'm going to apply the VPC level. VPC will isolate my resources from the uh, huge network that has been provided by the AWS. So the VPC will isolate my resource group, means my resources, whatever the resources I'm going to create, which are related to my organization, that will be isolated with the help of the VPC. And if you want to better understanding, just please have a quick look on this. The VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. So the VPC is nothing but the virtual isolated network in the cloud. Means in cloud we have vast network that has been provided by AWS. In that vast network, we are going to create our own customized network. In that customized network, I'm going to create the resources which are related to my organization. Okay, by default, the AWS will provide the default VPC in every region at the time of AWS account creation. Suppose if I had created any AWS account, in every region by default one default network has been created. Suppose if I want to create my resources in the default VPC, I can be able, but the companies are not showing interested to create their resources in the default VPC because of the default VPC has been provided by AWS. It doesn't have the default policies. It doesn't have the my requirements which is suitable. So based on my requirement, based on the scale, based on the size of the resources, based on the IPs, based on the host which I am going to create in that particular VPC, based on the IPs. So I'm going to create the customized VPC as per my organization requirement. So that's why we are mostly 99.9%, not 99.99%, 100% the companies are not supposed to use the default VPC. For the just for the practical purpose only, we are going to use the VPC instead of creating the custom VPC. Other than that, if we want for any organization requirements, they are going to create the customized VPC. In that VPC only, they are going to create the resources which are belongs to their respective organizations. Okay, fine. What are the main components? We can maintain all the servers or services in that network or FVC. Either we can call it as a VPC or either we can call it as a network. Okay. Subnet. What do you mean by subnet? The subnet is the smallest portion of the VPC. Means the VPC means we have the vast. Suppose I have created the customized network. So in that customized network, I need to break my network into number of parts. So uh, for my ease of maintenance. So that's why by using the concept of subnet, I'm going to partition the network. Means I am going to broken the network into multiple parts. That is smallest isolated portion of the network. Suppose if I want to show it, just in this way, you can understand better way. Just if you assume this is the VPC and this is one subnet, this is one subnet, this is one subnet, this is one subnet, this is one subnet. In this way, we have the VPC at the region level and the subnet is at available zone level. Okay, once I had created the VPC, in that VPC, based on the requirement, I am going to create the subnets. By default, all the missions which had created inside of this VPC will be communicate with each other. Okay, and for the in subnets, we have the two types of subnets. Mostly that is the public subnet, and the second one is the private subnet. How the subnet will become public and how the subnet will become private, just we have a look. The name itself suggests public subnet means it will be able to communicate with the public internet. Means whatever the resources, whatever the EC2 instance I am going to create in the public subnet, it will get the both public IP as well as the private IP. But by using the public IP, it will be able to communicate with the outside internet and it will accept the incoming traffic as well. But the scenario is different for the private subnet. What happens here? The private subnet, it didn't get any public IP, it only have the private IP. So whatever the communication we want to make, we can be able to communicate through with the private IP only. Because of the private subnet didn't have the public IP with them, so that's why it can't be able to respond to the outside traffic. Means the public from public internet, I can't be able to access the EC2 instances which has been created in the private subnet. I can be only able to reach out the instance which has been created in the public subnet only. This is the basic difference. Okay, and one more the terminology which we need to understand, the internet gateway. And before going to that, I'm quickly jump into the console and I will show the simple things what I had explained to you right now. So the first step I had explained you, by default the AWS will provide default VPC in every region. Just please have a quick look on this. Suppose right now I am in Northern Virginia region, that is in US-East-1. Okay, here I am going to check the VPC. Here this is one region. In that region, I didn't have created any custom VPC, but by default, AWS will provide some default VPC to here now. Just please have a look. Am I getting the default VPC? Yes. Suppose I'm going to enter region. Suppose US East, Ohio. Here I hadn't created any custom VPC. By default, AWS has provided. Here you can be able to find now, in every region, AWS will provide the default VPC to us. If you want to use, you can. Otherwise, you can create your customized network based on your requirement. Okay. Then, what is internet gateway? The internet gateway is the gateway which helps us to make the subnet as a public subnet. Means for each network, we have the one internet gateway. Once the internet gateway has been created, we are going to attach that internet gateway to the VPC. With that internet, through that internet gateway only, the outgoing traffic, the incoming traffic to the internet will be done. So suppose if I have the public routing table, in that public I had created the one route. So how the route will be reached to the destination, means to the internet. So through internet gateway only, it will be redirected traffic to the internet. So internet gateway plays that much role. So we are going to create one internet gateway for one region, and one internet gateway will be attached to the one VPC only. Okay. Here just please have a look. We can attach one internet gateway to any VPC. Fine. Route table. In the name itself suggests it route the traffic. Means based on the routes which I had designed, so accordingly the traffic route will takes place. Suppose if I make the route to reach the destination through internet gateway, in the route table the traffic will be redirected accordingly through the internet gateway only. So whatever the routes which I had done in the route table, accordingly the route will be done. The destination, the packets will be passed, the traffic will be directed through that path only. Okay. And here in this also, we have the two types of route tables are there. That one is public route table, and the another thing is private route table. what is mean by public and what is mean by private. As the name it suggests, as the name itself suggests, the public route table means, suppose if I had attached what I had done, if I had attached the internet gateway to the route table, then automatically the route table will converted into a public route table. Whenever I had attached internet gateway as a route to any route table, that will be converted into the public route table. And by default, AWS will provide one main route table, and that main route table by default will act as a private route table. The main route table is same as private route table. If I add, unless I am adding any customized routes, suppose even though it is main route table, means it is private route table. If I add the route of means the internet gateway route, then it will be converted as a public route table. Okay, by default AWS will provide main route table that will act like a private route table, means I can be only able to communicate with the resources which has been created under this route table, which has been created uh, under that subnet, private subnet, through private IP only. Okay, and one more thing, that is network NAT address, NAT gateway, and NAT instance and NAT gateway. Means NAT instance is nothing but we are going to create one instance and we are going to configure NAT software on that instance. It will act as a NAT instance, and NAT gateway is the thing, the service which has been offered by the AWS, and it has a highly scalable capability that will be helpful. What is the purpose of NAT gateway? NAT gateway will make the instances, means the resources which had been created in the private write table will be able to access the internet, and it only allows the outward traffic only, means from instance it will be able to access the internet, but if anybody want to access the instance from outside of the network, then they can't allow, means it will only allow the outward traffic only, it will never ever allow the inward traffic. And the NAT gateway must be created in the public subnet. Just make sure the NAT gateway must and should we need to create in the public subnet. Then only it will allow the traffic from private subnet to internet, and it will never ever allow the incoming traffic. Just please have clarity on this. And network access control list, NACL, and you need to understand about the security group and NACL. And just please remember, the security group only, the security group and NACL, what is the basic difference? The security group, once I have created security group, I am going to attach to any instance level. Okay, if I had created any security group, I am going to attach it to the instance. So based on the rules which I had defined in the security group, accordingly the instance will allow the traffic. Okay, in security group only we have the inbound rules. Once the traffic will be inbounded, automatically the security group will provide the outbound traffic as well. Means it will provide the stateful fire operation. Means once the traffic has been allowed, automatically in the same path the traffic will be going outside. But coming to NACL, we need to create the both routes. Means if I had created the incoming rule, at the same time I am going to create the outward rule. Otherwise, means it is a stateless firewall. Generally we can call as a security group, and our NACL will be called as a firewall. Means of it will allow the traffic, it will deny the traffic based on the rules which I had defined. So that's why. And finally, we are the term as VPC peering. VPC peering means I am not going to create only one VPC in one region. Based on my requirement, I am going to create the VPC in one region or in different region or in the same region. Means there are different scenarios. Suppose I have the two VPCs in the same region. And second scenario, I have the one VPC in Northern Virginia. I have a second VPC in the Mumbai region. Suppose whatever the thing it may be, I am going to, if I want to connect the two VPCs which are in the same region or in the different region, I'm going to use the concept of VPC peering. With the help of VPC peering, I'm going to establish the connection between the two VPCs, which may be in the same region or the different region. Okay, these are the key terminologies where we are going to hear in this VPC topic. Suppose if I want to do the practicals on the same, then the practical section will be, I think it will be seeing in the next class, that will be mostly help out to you. Okay, what I will done in the second class, what I will be done in the next class, I'm going to create the custom VPC and public subnet, a private subnet, everything I'm going to create. At the same time, I'm going to create two instances. One is in the public subnet and another is in the private subnet. Then how I'm going to communicate with the private subnet instance from the public subnet instance, we are going to see in the next practical section. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed my session. Thank you for joining the session. Bye bye.